place to be for creators and fans, we're the key. Join the wave, let's make some noise. Rad TV, we're the future, enjoy.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Cameron. I'm head of community at Rad TV, and today we are speaking with King Winston Mayo. Thank you for joining us today, Winston. How are you? Good morning.
I'm doing fantastic. Very excited. Been looking forward to this all week. So
Let's
I am
go.
ready to go.
Yeah, me too. Winston and I had a chance to catch up a while ago and just talking through his content production and seeing the things that he's produced. Wanted to get him into a space and ask him some questions about his production techniques, what his thoughts are on the space, and really he's taken it to the next level as far as AI production in my eyes, and excited to share that with you all today. Super casual space as always. We had I see Abo Mac requesting to speak. We will bring you up in just a little bit and add a few other speakers as well. And just so everyone knows, this podcast is recorded here on X, and we are recording it, and we'll put it up on Rad TV as well. It'll be up later this afternoon. So without further ado, King Winston, how's life? How's the Nativity, the Christmas Story release going for you? And where in the world are you calling in from today?
So I am Winston Mayo. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. And Nativity is actually doing really well.
Let's go.
We're either having neutral feedback or good feedback. And so we've been accepted into a few film contests.
Yes.
And so that's like our plan for it for the year. We'll be just seeing what type of contests and grants we can get from our production.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about Nativity. And actually, before we dive into Nativity, let's start with a little bit of your background. Where have you been in Atlanta your whole life? And I would love to know more about like when you started creating, how the idea of doing Nativity, how'd you arrive there? And I would love to hear a little bit more about your upbringing and your creative process as a adolescent into early adulthood, and then how do you arrive where you are today? If you want to give us a little bit of background.
Oh, sure thing. So overall, I'll make a long story very short.
Don't do that. Make the long story medium
that's
length.
exactly what I want to do because I ramble. So I want to make a long story.
We like it.
So I was born in Los Angeles, California. My mother moved me out to Atlanta, Georgia in the 90s because, gang violence and stuff. And so most of my life and upbringing have been in the Atlanta metropolitan in Marietta, Georgia. And then after high school, I got tired of Georgia and I moved to upstate New York in Ithaca College.
Wow.
Because I got accepted into St. John's, but I did no research and thought all of New York was New York City. So I said, it doesn't matter if I go to St. John's or Ithaca College. So I went to Ithaca for a writing degree and I had an art minor. And from there, I wrote 2 books. So I'm actually an author first. And I thought, if you write a book, it's going to become a best-selling book and all this other stuff. And I knew nothing about networking and connections. And so I had no connections, no money, no job. And so I just took my ability to write and went into marketing. So since 2015, I've been doing everything involving word and marketing. So influencer marketing, SEO, landing pages, campaigns, video editing, and everything in between.
Awesome.
And so how I got into AI, I literally remember almost everything when ChatGPT came out. I was in Florida when I saw it. And I was like, this is like when the phone or the computer came out or the car. And so I was very excited about it. And then 2 years ago, Mid-Journey, instead of being text with ChatGPT, was images. And I actually told my friend, I was like, man, I've had these scripts and books in my head for years, and I can see the characters visually. And then just this last October and the summer, the video models started coming out with AI. And during the time, I was actually at a um, tech company doing tech sales. I hated it so much. And so it was actually a lot of motivation for me to um, do my own thing. I like sometimes, being in the United States, you have a lot of comfort and ease. They talk about the golden handcuffs. And so I hated my job so much. I was like, okay, I want to start making trailers. I want to start making videos and stuff like that. And so that's actually how I came into the AI space specifically. And overall, Glory House Studios was always a dream of mine to make movies that glorify Jesus Christ and just be a light in darkness. And so we want to add like beauty and like color and all this like joy, happy endings that we actually been missing. So that's actually the short spiel of who I am.
Awesome. Love that. So, were you doing any production prior to going up to Ithaca? Had you ever created a piece of content before?
Only social media wise, so mainly YouTube. So in Ithaca College, you'll make like little videos with your friends, and sometimes my videos with my friends will go viral. And then I started a YouTube channel called The Blessing Report Studios, and basically it's just a Bible study. And so that hit like 1 million views on there. I think I have
Very
like
cool.
20,000 subscribers on there. But I acted one time in high school, and it was kind of by accident. And so, like, the theater teacher just wanted me to try, and I got really sick, and I didn't get to be part of the production. And
Ah,
so, that is like my most production wise. But in Atlanta, there's a lot of extra work. So
oh
I've
yeah.
been extra on like USA Today and um, a few movies I'm not really proud of, so I don't want anyone to
Ah,
look.
you don't have to be proud of extra. You don't need to be proud of extra work. I have some friends that have done some really cool stuff in extra work, but to get that really cool stuff, you got to go through like the worst. Standing in the rain or whatever it is, waiting
Oh,
outside
for
for
sure.
hours. So at least I will say, I bet extra work is a little easier in California with the weather being so perfect as opposed to Atlanta,
Oh
maybe.
yeah, it's so hot.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
gonna
but
say you're outside all day just sweating in 100 degrees.
yes,
That's great. So, what is the scene like in Atlanta right now? And you and I mentioned this on our call.
yeah.
Of everybody. I think everybody here is probably familiar with Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry was planning. Don't let me misquote if you know the
Oh
actual
yeah.
figures, Wins, but I think it was like $200 million production studio, Hollywood production studio, and then I think it was Runway. When Runway dropped their initial model, he was like, "Oh, I'm out," and bailed on the entire thing, and is like, "We got to wait and see what's happening before I spend $200 million on a production studio." What's the vibe in Atlanta like right now around that and around AI? Are you hearing any rumblings or in your community any of the similar sentiment?
So, I think what's happening in Atlanta is exactly what's happening in Los Angeles. So, people were coming to Atlanta because of the tax breaks, essentially. And then we were affected by the writer's strike, the actors' strike. And so, it's actually a pretty good time to make movies right now
Awesome. Yeah.
because there's almost like a stalemate when it comes to work. And so, I'm just going to talk about like the more of the production side. And so there's not a lot of people hiring at the same rate when it comes to both television and movies. And so people are actually, experts in their field, but because they have no work, they're either taking lesser jobs than their rate or they're working for free of like, hey, I just want to get some experience and stuff like that. So if you're like a new studio or a new agency and you're like, hey, I need some really expert work, then that's exciting. But if you're talking about people making a living, it's not that exciting. And so I think everyone's trying to see how AI is shaping up. And again, you may be right on the figures for Tyler Perry. I think the article said 800 million, but I don't remember. But it's definitely getting cut. And also, people are outsourcing.
Yeah, eight
Uh,
hundred million. You're right.
yeah.
I was way off. Slappy Swanson Samsonite. It was way off.
Just 4 times. It's not that big of a
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. Just exponentially wrong.
But I've heard the cuts that people were receiving in Atlanta because everyone started moving here since COVID. are not as great, and that's why productions aren't continuing at the same rate before COVID. And people are actually going abroad. Like I know the UK is getting like more movies now, and also Korea is getting more movies.
Yep.
And so that's the space right now in Atlanta.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm seeing, I mean, it's really spreading out everywhere. I lived in LA for 14 years. I've done extra work, I've done acting and modeling and things like that. But I never really got into the acting scene where I was getting real gigs and auditioning and things like that. I never really pursued it that hard. But I was paying attention to it for several years because friends of mine were doing extra work and real acting work and commercial work all over the place. And it seemed like Chicago picked up for a bit, Atlanta picked up for a bit, New York picked up, West Florida picked up incredibly, like tons of productions were coming out of there. And now it seems like it's even like another level down. We have just had announcements here. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, of people buying multi tens of millions of, like I think the one I read was 40 million. I hope I'm not 4 times off on this one again, but, but it was 40 million, and they took over a huge building in Dublin to make it into a movie production studio. And the person's entire thought process and ideal around what that facility would end up being and facilitating was that it's too expensive and
Yeah.
productions don't need to be on the West Coast or in Florida anymore, where the weather is nice anymore. You can do a lot on in a set, on a soundstage. So there is all these possibilities opening, and that is a perfect segue into your production and Nativity, the Christmas Story. And as you were telling me about it and how much you were able to accomplish with the resources you had available is super inspiring. And the level of production that you've delivered, it really says a lot about the tool sets that are available, your work ethic, you're seeing this production all the way through. So I'd love to hear more about how this project transpired. I know you have a partner on it. Let's hear, when did the idea come about and what were your first steps into production? And we'll start to talk a little bit about the Nativity production you did.
Oh, sure thing. So it actually started with Dave Clark. He is the front runner in the AI video space right now. So he is Christopher Nolan, he's Steven Spielberg. And so everyone currently in the AI video space was primarily making trailers. And so Dave Clark put out a video project called Battalion. It was about African American soldiers. And I think his spot was 5 minutes to 6 minutes long. And so last year there was like another anime video, and they had like a really big production team. I think their team was about 12 people, and they got about 7 to 12 minutes using AI video. And so when I saw Battalion by David, I was like, oh, okay, we can actually make scenes now. I just want to try it. And also backtracking to when I had a tech job, they did a personality test on like me as a creative. And basically it said, you don't finish anything. And so I wanted to make something full and try to make something start to finish. And so I think Dave came out with his material in October. And so the reason I picked Nativity and the Christmas Story is because Christmas was coming up. My work used to be in marketing and SEO. So I knew if we can get this out before December 1st, you can get pulled into the YouTube algorithm to get a lot of views and stuff like that. And also, it's one of the shortest stories like in the Bible. So
Yep.
Jesus' birth is like 4 pages in the entire Bible. And so it's really easy to capture. And so that's primarily the motivation between it. And then do you want me to go into how we did it or?
Yeah, whatever you want to share. I mean, I'm very interested in like, you're kind of telling people how much your production costs were, how long it took you, all those things. I would love to hear all of this. And I would also love to know, did you make any adjustments to the story? Did you do any scripting? Did you do any changes along the way that helped in your production process?
Oh, yes, by far, you have to adjust to the tools. So before, and I'm going to list a lot of tools, and I made all my tools list both on X and on LinkedIn. So if y'all want to be like, oh man, he has a lot of tools he's listing, everything's already on my page. So before Ray 2 with Luma came out, Genmo, Mochi, Hyun, and Minimax came out, you could not do fast action at all. And that's why so many people were doing trailers. And so that you had to adjust basically cut scenes from over the shoulder shots, like back and forth, real static camera material. And so the way that we started our production, I already knew that you're not going to have any action scenes or fight scenes in there. So I always start with the source material, and that's your script. And so Cam and I spoke about this, about basically God-given talent and like taste and stuff like that. I don't know how people control for really good writing. And so I kind of always been good at writing versus like how much TV I took in. Like I was a 90s kid. So I'm taking in like the best television, the best movies. And so once you're almost like LMM, you're taking in all this material, and so you learn what's good when it comes to taste, pasting, and so on and so forth. And so one of the ways that I start off with scripting is that I actually start with music and like rhythm. And so I can usually really hear like really good lines, really good images and scenes in my head, in my imagination. And so once you have your script, either if you're not good at writing, you can go to ChatGPT. Claude is my favorite for script writing, and also Perplexity. And so you're going to tell your LMM, you're going to tell them, hey, you are an award-winning script writer. Make me a script based off of wherever you want it to be based off of. If you want to be based off the Roman Empire, or you need some type of source material, if you want to be Lord of the Rings or something, and then you can input it. And so that makes it easier. If you're already a writer, you can just already input your script that you're using. So once you have your script, you're going to already have like your your scenes. And so second, you'll need a shot list. And so typically in a production, you will hire a cinematographer and they'll help you with your shot list. But now we're going to use the AI for all these production hirings. And so once you make your shot list, you're able to put your shot list into Midjourney. I use Midjourney for all text to images. Runway just came out with their own text to image model.
Like literally today, right? Or yesterday?
Today. Yeah, today,
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And so they may be as good. I haven't got to try it yet, but Midjourney is my go-to all the time. And so I'm using Claude and I say, create me a shot list. And then I tell Claude, turn my shot list into Midjourney prompts. And boom, I have my entire storyboard and my entire movie scenes already made like that.
And then you can edit piece by piece instead of making giant strokes. You can make smaller, minute strokes in the production itself at that point.
Oh, for sure. And so from there, I went into storyboarding and also hiring. So I'm using a website called Faith-Based Hiring. So I usually work with people who are okay with our G-rated content. So we do like no cursing, no gratuitous violence, no sex scenes and stuff like that. And so I always tell my actors, I will control how good the writing is, and you will control how good the acting is, because the best productions is story and acting. You can't get beyond that. So that's one of the problems right now in the AI film space, is that the writing isn't all the way there, except for the people who are coming from Hollywood. And so people who have been in commercial work and film and television, and they're using AI, they're winning all the contests. They're making the best outputs because they're already trained. But in the acting space, a lot of people in the AI, they're doing it themselves. But even I tried to do it myself one time with a trailer, and voice acting is so much harder than regular acting. And so I just use the database to curate my actors. And so when I'm curating my actors, I'm just like, okay, Christian, not Christian, if you're the best, you're going to get an interview with me. And so I just tell them about the production and I give them a test sheet of like, hey, let's just see who has like natural talent. Because technically, as an AI creator, you're a director. And so if I had more time, I would do the people and like teach them and coach them how I want the performance to do. But what I do, I just go to natural talent. I'm like, hey, you already know how to read. You have the natural rhythm. You could pick this up strictly from the script. So that's who I'm picking. And so because I made the storyboard with Midjourney, I'm able to animate the storyboard also in LTX Studio and I can give it to my actors. I'm like, hey, here's all your scenes. And usually you will have a script reading with other people, but with my agency and my studio, I'm trying to get as close to speed to market versus like everything has to be perfect. So we're measuring everything at 80 to 90%. If we're 80 to 90% there, we're just doing it. So we have
Love that.
more of a tech background because they use an MVP model, minimum viable product, and versus like Hollywood, and creatives, you're trying to make the best thing possible. But what you're finding is that you're making nothing. Usually, I'm like, dang, I'm
Yep.
supposed to be a filmmaker, and I have no films, and so. I learned a lot by watching movies from Bollywood and Nollywood. Like if you look on YouTube, they have millions of views,
Oh,
and
Bollywood stuff's still blowing up. Yeah.
right? And if we compare it to Hollywood, we would say maybe the quality is not as good,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
people, the audience still likes it.
Yep.
And so I think that really helps when you're trying to make something of like, hey, I'm not trying to make the best, I'm trying to make the minimum that people will like. And so after I have my actors and I cast them, we're going primarily into, I guess this is like post production, but this is in lip syncing primarily. And so we're using Runway ML for our lip syncing. We're using CapCut. Very hot take. I think CapCut has the best lip syncing model out of all the tools right now. And then three is Hydra, and they are and Kling also. I forgot about Kling. But there's some pitfalls with those tools. Kling only does 10 seconds. So it's a lot of takes that you have to do. Versus when I use Runway, you can do 30 seconds. And then when you use CapCut, you can do a full 30 to 60 seconds. And so you'll take an image or a video. So you'll have to animate your video if you are using Runway and then it will lip sync your actor onto the video or onto the image. So it's the same thing that they're doing with motion capture when you're watching Avatar or Planet of the Apes. And so if you're thinking of AI, I like to tell everyone AI is not the next generation of filmmaking. I think it's the next generation of animation and the next generation of CGI, particularly. And so once you capture everyone's performance in the video, you send it off to an editor. I had an amazing editor named Nate. And so he's actually a really good story. I'll save it for later. But he edited everything for me. And then lastly, I'm capturing all the sound and the scoring with Udio. Is actually really proficient, way better than I would have ever expected. And they are a text to sound, song, and music generator. So I'm going back into Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT, and I say, you are an award winning film score musician. Make me a song for every scene. And so, because the writing is strong enough in the dialogue, from my script, it's able to tell me the beats per minute. It's able to tell me the key. It's able to tell me everything that I need. And
Very
then
interesting.
oh yes, and then once I put it into Udio, it's actually pretty accurate because I made sure the writing was really strong to
I
begin with.
honestly, it's one of the things that stood out in the production itself is the music and how emotional it is. I mean, it really has like you're bringing in or orchestration that is really emotional and even has the buildups to places that you would anticipate, a very high level production, like, a major Hollywood Christmas movie that has the entire orchestra playing is like there's moments in your 20-minute piece, or I think it's 15, including the
Yeah.
extras, but there's moments in there that strike up, real emotion and very well placed and timed music. It's very interesting that you arrived at it in the way you did. Did that take some experimenting, or was that your first dive in and it just worked the way that you thought it would?
It's going to sound horrible, but it really was my first try.
That's amazing, honestly. That's really good.
So basically, once you tune in your avatar or your persona, um, and that's why I'm using all three websites, I will put whatever text to song prompt from all three websites. And so I'll put it in, and then I'll just see which one gives me the best output. And Udio is so good that once you key in that prompt, it's pretty much giving you the score that you want on your first or second try.
That's incredible. So like you're doing wha- wait, so, a whole score? Is it one piece of audio that it's spitting out and it's timed, or is it giving you segments of this is where this piece goes and it's giving you a 30-second piece or a 2-minute piece? How did you cut those pieces up? And was it like as easy as I got the file, I'm pasted into this scene and it's working?
Basically. But on Udio, it gives you two options. I'm pretty sure you can get it on the paid plan, but it outputs 30 seconds or 2 minutes worth of song. And so the only problem with Udio is that if you extend it and it does some, basically all this AI is a slot machine. You're going to try and see if it does something you like, and if it does something you don't like, you hope that it doesn't do it again. And so if you extend it, the only problem with is it doesn't have the same conclusion. And so if you do like if one input is 30 seconds and the other one is 2 minutes, your 2 minute score is going to sound like a beginning, middle, end. So it sounds like a conclusion. So it's good. But if you do 30 seconds and you keep on extending, there's not really a conclusion, but you have to hope that it dissipates off in a way that it sounds okay. Or if you have a longer scene, and you probably could pick this up if you're listening pretty closely to the nativity, we're playing the same song in loop. And so, because we can't have like a real composer with us, if the scene is too long, we have to loop the same song over and over again. So those decrescendos and crescendos are a little repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we also didn't have a traditional sound composer. And so if the dialogue isn't loud enough, you're going to hear our inexperience essentially.
Sure. So, just so anybody who's not aware, our main space that's pinned to the top of our channel right now, the next post below that you can click on, it takes you to Nativity, the Christmas Story by King Winston Mayo. And you can watch that ad free on Rad TV. And it is a tremendous production. The first thing that caught my eye was how amazing the lip sync was. It's some of the best I've seen. Obviously, I'm not seeing everything you all are being creators in the space, but I am seeing a lot of content, and I am seeing all of your generations pretty much every day, and this really stood out to me as something that was immediately different and immediately at like. I was like, wait a second. I like leaned in doing the grandma meme, fixing my glasses, leaning in to look at it. Like, that's really good lip sync. If this is AI, this is really good. And the amount that was spent on this production, Winston, would you like to tell us that? I don't want to dox you or tell your story for you. So, can you tell us a little bit about like what you spent on this production, what the total length is of the production, how long it took you to complete, etc.?
Sure thing. So my numbers are a little off, but I know for a fact it's under $1,000. because I actually did a tutorial on how to make AI movies and AI commercials. And the last time I did like the actual numbers, it was $385. But that was before Runway Act One came out, and that's $100 per month. And before Minimax came out, and that was $100 per month also. And so I would actually be breaking the bank a lot if I wasn't in a lot of the trader partner programs. And so a lot of the tools for me are free, fortunately. And so do you just want me to do a total cost breakdown,
Yeah,
or how do
however you want to break it down. I'm sure anybody listening to this will find value in it and whatever you're willing to share. So any nuance or overall production is fine. Whatever you're comfortable sharing, King.
Okay. So I want to do all the mandatory costs of like, hey, you need to get these tools and they're the best, but they do cost money. So number one is Runway. Act One, unfortunately, they do have a credit-based system. And so they have I think they got rid of their free plan. So I think they have a $15 plan per month, 30, and then 100 is unlimited. And so that's where I'm on. But they also have a enterprise plan. I don't need that much. I'm not a full production studio yet. So you're using that primarily for lip sync. You can actually use it for video and images. We just don't use it that way, but it does have the potential for that. So after that, you're using Midjourney. So again, if you want Midjourney alternatives, you could use Luma Labs. They do text to image. Runway does text to image really well also, and I think Fall AI. And Midjourney will cost you $30 per month, and they're basically unlimited generations as well. Udo, which is your scoring and your filmmaking tool for music, I think they are $8 per month. And so them and Suno, I think they are amazing steals at
Same,
how much
same.
that they
10 and
cost.
$8. $18 for those two tools is insanity. Insanity.
Insane. And so that's how we're actually able to always have an album that comes with our productions. And so we're going to be using that for sync licensing also.
Very cool.
You can do Hedra. This is another lip sync tool, but I want to input CapCut because I still think it's the best. CapCut, their AI model for lip syncing is $10 a month, but they do have a credit system. I did use up all my credits on the Nativity, but that's only because I had a client and I was using the same subscription for his project as well. And his project was 8 videos that I had to do. So I think you can get 30 minutes worth of AI usage in CapCut. Before you have to jump up to, I think they have a $30 per month plan and a $120
Wow.
per month plan, and it's amazing. So there is primarily on a credit system that you have to worry about. So next one is Minimax. You need to get Minimax.
Yeah,
So
it's so
right now
good.
in our production, we're using as our base. So all the exposition shots that we're getting and all the natural motion, action shots, people fighting, that is Minimax and Luma Labs. And so I'm in the Luma Labs program, so I don't know how much they cost. I think they're at $30 per month. But Minimax Unlimited, you can make as much as you want. It's $100 per month. And they are giving us amazing outputs. And the way that I measure tools is, are you giving me something that I can use first try? That's basically how I'm
I
measuring.
was
And
just going
so,
to ask where you
yeah.
are you getting to a place where a tool is going, I'm definitely using this tool for this thing, or are you still experimenting with all the tools to see which output is the best and not making those decisions yet? Or are you hardcore? I know that for this task, I use this tool, no question.
I'm very flexible, but I basically got all my stuff down to Luma Labs and Minimax. So they are basically my studio essentially. They will give me wherever I need. And so like particular task, um, and I'm a little different than other directors. A lot of people are like pretty, I don't know another word, but they're very specific and a little stringent. They're like, I want this shot, I want a crane movement doing this and all this. I don't need none of that. I am curating, and that's how I'm approaching AI video right now. I'm like, okay, every scene needs like 3 shots of B-roll. Boom, it can give me 3. I got 3. Now I can go into the dialogue. And so I'm way more flexible because I know the tools aren't traditional filmmaking. And so I know the limitations. And so again, I'm trying to get it out as quick as possible. And so Luma Labs and Minimax, they are going to give me basically first try, and also time wise, I think this is really important to me. Um, if you're using these tools, so this is Runway, Kling, Minimax, Luma Labs, and all this, right? Your base time is like 5 minutes per 6 second to 10 second video, right? When I'm using Luma Labs, they give me a video in 10 seconds. And so I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to get something usable. And so I know that if I want exactly what, like excellent quality is the best thing to ever look, this is going to be Kling. But I don't use Kling that often because it takes so long. It's 5 minutes to 10 minutes per
Yeah, you got to
one.
leave the browser. Yeah, you got to go do something else. You got to make coffee or take a walk. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, man, how am I going to make 22 minutes worth of a
Right.
video with Kling? I can't. And so
That's
that's
literally
why,
like 3 hours of waiting at that time. Like
right?
that's 3 hours of your production. Yeah, yeah.
And that's on the paid program.
So
If
yeah,
you're
I've used
on
it, but
the
it's
paid
great
program,
though. It's great though. It
yeah,
does such a good job.
it does do a good job. So if you're using a traditional team of 12 or less, where all of y'all have a subscription to the programs and y'all are all working on one scene, I think you could use the other tools. But if you have a smaller team under 12, like myself, I think that using Minimax and Luma Labs is way quicker. And so that's how I'm using the tools of like, hey, these are the ones that give me the quickest output.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, I have some other questions on this that are tool related, but maybe not so much AI tool related, but we're staying on topic. So, I would love to know a little bit as you're talking about this. I'm going to jump around a little bit because that's how production
Cool.
works, but still relevant here. How did you organize your files for this production? And do you have any tips for creators that are starting down the path of, hey, I have my shot list, I have my script, I'm ready to go? How were you when you were exporting that and you're like, all right, this is a keeper. I got my 3 B rolls for this scene. Those are keepers. How are you organizing those? How are you, what's the naming convention? What's the file organization? How are you keeping track of all of these different pieces that will then be handed off to an editor or edited later by yourself?
Oh, sure thing. And I think that Matt Sky has a question as well. So the way that we're organizing it is that we're actually just using Google Drive. And so, a script, one page of a script is basically 1 minute of film. And so we're just doing it by scenes. So in this production, there were 19 scenes. And so it just says Harris Palace, that's scene 1. Mary in her bedroom, that's scene 2, right? So within that folder of the scene, we split it up into number 1 is B-roll. So we put all our B-roll videos into one folder within the scene. Number 2 is dialogue. So the editor is basically following the storyboard in the script, and they're like, okay, I'm looking for this dialogue, and it's going to be in this folder. And so that's number 2. Number 3 is music. And so we are, traditionally you'll give your editor kind of like creative license to choose the music, but we also wanted to be on all socials and we didn't want to get copywritten. So copy strike or whatever. So we wanted to make sure that all of our music was AI generated so we can put it up on every platform. And then this is actually a throwaway folder that we use, but you can use it if you want. we had photos. So it's like, hey, these are all the photos that we used for this scene. And so when we're using Midjourney for our text to image,
Are you naming each one of those files, each one of those images? Are you giving them their own particular name as well?
oh no, because they're only allocated to the specific scene,
Right.
we're just dumping them.
How many
And
how many
also,
photos do you have in an average scene folder?
oh my goodness. um, are you talking about how many do I give the editor, or how many did I had to go through to make it?
Both. I mean, both. I would love to know the success rate versus the how many pools you had.
I remember when I was getting prepared for this, for I think 3 scenes that we did, I had 600 images in Midjourney. So
So 19 scenes, 200 a
yeah,
200 a scene or something. You're at like 4,000 images or something crazy. Yeah.
yeah. But by the time I give it to my editor, we're probably like 30. Yeah, we're probably giving them 30 images. But the videos, when it comes to B-roll, we're probably giving them 30 to 50 B-roll also.
Very cool. So you know that's great, and we started to have this conversation with Bijou and a couple others on the AI Art Today space yesterday about file organization, or maybe it was the other day, maybe 2 days ago. Um, but talking about file organization, it's something that I find very interesting as someone that's creative myself, just because of how much you are having to organize and how much is available to you in one moment of, you can jump in and out of scene production in a way that no director has ever been able to even fathom.
Mhm.
It's like the scene is set up for the day that you're filming. There's not another scene set up. It's like we're gonna film our 4 lines or whatever. You can just be like, new tab, new scene, see ya.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to think about how these are being organized and then edited. So, a question that's not directly related to AI tools: what tools did you use to actually edit the video? I know you said CapCut. Is that what you're doing? The final production on the timeline, is that, or is that as the editor that you hired using a different tool? Is he using Final Cut or Premiere or something like that?
Yeah, so Nate, I'm pretty sure that he was using Final Cut. I'm actually a Premiere Pro plan. I'm pretty much a
Same.
fan of Adobe.
Yeah, I love it.
If I need something like, I know a lot of people here may be like my peers, and you want to get paid for your work. Most of the time, I'm doing like spec ads and pitching in LinkedIn to companies, and I'm using CapCut because sometimes I don't know what's up with Premiere, but it just will not give me what I want quickly. So again, I'm always measuring by speed. And so if you're giving me a headache when I'm trying to make like a 30-minute, I'm not 30-second ad, I'm just going to go to CapCut and make it. But our big productions, we're definitely using Premiere Pro and Final Cut.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing this. So, Nativity was released on what day? Was that December 1st? You said you wanted to get it out before then. When did it actually drop?
We had so many issues. We wanted it to come out December 1st, and it came out December 31st. And do you mind if I shared like everything that happened? I think
No,
that
we'd love. That's why we're here, King. We're here for your story. Yeah, please tell us. Tell us. I'd love to know. I know you said you have a team of two, and I
yeah.
know you said it took you 3 minutes, under $1,000, or 3 months. I mean, I think I said 3 minutes. Sorry, three
Yeah.
months, under $1,000 with a team of two. Let's hear. I'd love to hear how you and your partner came together to create this, and then what the journey was, through the end. And like I said, we're here for the long story, so don't hold back.
So I want everyone after the space to please look up the production of Passion of the Christ with Mel Gibson and everything horrible that happened with them. And so the main actor who played Jesus, I think he got struck by lightning 3 times. People got in car accidents and sick and a whole bunch of bad stuff. So Mel Gibson did not know when you're making like Christian productions that you are fighting the devil. And so he had to hire people to like pray and fast so that all this horrible stuff wouldn't happen. And so Glory House Studios, we're a Christian production, but I told everyone in this production, I was like, hey, you're going to experience spiritual warfare. Bad stuff is going to happen. So pray, live a holy life, read your Bible, make sure you're in church. And so, number one, we lost so much of our footage and it had to be re-uploaded like 3 times. And that was number one. Number two, our main actor, his name is Patrick. He lives in California, and him and his wife got really sick. His back started locking up really bad. So during his scene shooting, I had to like pray with him and give him Bible verses. Uh, Number four, I forgot his name. It might be Craig. He had to drop out of our production. He's in his 70s, and I'm pretty sure his father's in his 90s. Then his father died, and so I had to replace him with AI. And then
Wow.
yes,
Wow. So what was that like? Was that a tough decision to make, or like did you still use his facial, his I forget the word I'm looking for, but like his persona, his person?
oh no, we actually didn't use him at all because his father died before we did his scenes,
Mm.
and so we had to make sure to keep him lifted in prayer. And then the biggest one is Nate, our editor. He suffered the worst out of everyone. So number one, he lives in Nigeria, and the life in Nigeria is very different. So he actually got robbed. So like his black magic camera and all his computers, like everything got robbed. And so he had none of that. And so the way that we met Nate is through a Facebook group for filmmakers. And he just said on there, hey, I'm going to edit 5 movies for free. Anyone who wants to get a movie edited for free, have us. And so we were actually like praying. That's how we get all of our team members. We're like, Lord, send us people who are excellent and basically can do the work and are Christian. And so we worked with him. So after all his stuff was stolen, he lives in Nigeria. Stuff is different there. He got assaulted and attacked by the police. And so he had to rebuy computers to work on our stuff. And actually, it's not really a funny, but it's kind of like ironic funny. The little shop where he bought his new computer, the shop owner was selling his computers that were stolen there. And so that happened. And then when he was actually editing, the power went out, particularly only in his place, which is awful, and the internet would not work. And then lastly, when he was finishing, the files would not save and they disappeared. So he had to re-edit like 3 times. So any flaws that you see in the nativity, we had to fight everything just to get it.
It was really a battle just to get it out, huh?
So we are very okay with like, hey, the music's too loud. We know the music's too loud, so we're okay with
We're grateful to have it out, is the story. Yeah, that is incredible. So, how long did you initially think this production was going to take, and then it ended up taking? You said right at 3 months.
I promise. Maybe I'm just a little naive and inexperienced. I thought it would take a month, but some of like the actors, they would because on motion capture and runway, they would like move too much, and I couldn't use any of their acting, which was really difficult. But thanks to CapCut, I could use their voice, and then it would lip sync, and then I didn't actually need their acting for emotion. But it was, like just regular production flaws. I thought everything would work the first time at it. And so, everything doesn't work first time. So that was the main difficulty that we had.
Very interesting. I'm loving this story, Winston. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing with us. I'm really loving this, and you have such great energy.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no sweat. So what's next? What comes after Nativity? I know you mentioned a couple things. What are you working on something now? Where are you in production on that? And what's after Nativity's run?
All right. So our big goal, because Nativity was actually kind of like a spur of a moment thing. We just wanted to see what the tools could do and what we could make. Our goal for this year, 2025, is 60 to 90-minute feature film with the story of Moses. Very excited. y'all actually saw one of my tests I was running with Genmo. I mean, yeah, Genmo with Mochi, and also Hunyon and Lumen Labs with basically you see fire from heaven raining down on Egypt.
Yeah, it's
So those
incredible,
are
incredible video. It's amazing. It's on our top of our timeline right now, or you can go to Winston's page and check it out on X.
where I tell you, Luma Labs has game changed everything for
Let's
me
go,
because
Luma Labs, baby, Luma Labs. We love Luma.
because previously like last year, even the summer, you could not get anything longer than 4 to 6 second generations. And so their new Ray 2 model is giving you 10-second generations. And I kind of like math. So you just need 1 minute. And so that's 6 generations of videos. And to get to 90, that's 540 videos. And so that's actually pretty doable versus if you had 4 to 6 seconds, you would need 1,300, and I think it's
Wow.
50 videos to get to 90 minutes. And so that's not counting dialogue. That's not counting, uh, that's like primarily if your whole movie was B roll. And so thanks to Ray 2, Minimax, and like Mochi and Hunyon, this is helping our special effects where we can have legitimate Hollywood level feature film. And one thing I did forget to mention in Midjourney is that because we're able to control the lighting and color grading in our photo inputs, this is how you're creating consistency and continuity in your story. So that's one of the problems with AI video right now. Everything is jump cuts. Everything looks like different scenes and looks like a puzzle of a million different movies, and they don't go together. But because of Ray 2 and Lumen Labs, they're able to color grade properly. Midjourney is able to color grade properly. It looks like the same scene. And so we'll have a little issue with character consistency. That's the last step in AI video. But Minimax is trying to alleviate that with their inputs. And so we're excited about what we're able to create right now. So 60-second, 90-minute film of the life of Moses.
Amazing, amazing. That's one of my favorite stories ever. What's your favorite AI tool right now? Quick answer. Go, go, go. What you got? Favorite tool?
This is a hot take, but I'm sticking with Midjourney. It gives me exactly what I want first try. Anything that does that, I'm going with it, and I put it into every video tool I'm using. So that's my staple.
So you're starting there, and then so that's your production starting point for images, and then what you go into Luma pretty much most of the time next.
Um, it's a tie between Luma and Minimax for
Hmm.
video, but if we're talking about special effects, Hunyon, Mochi are front runners. I just got into like there's called a NIM creative partner program, and they let me use those tools. And I was like, wow, you can. I made this crazy monster battle scene that I've been sitting on for like 10 years, and it gave me exactly what I wanted. And I was like, wow, you would have to hire like a CGI artist, a VFX
Yeah,
person to
$10,000 a minute or something. Yeah,
yes, it will cost so much to make this.
yeah.
And that's why I like Midjourney because you can input in Midjourney, give me a black magic camera. Those cameras are $40,000 to $100,000
Easy.
camera,
Yep.
but I can just use it as if I have it and I don't. So I'm spending $30 for $100,000 camera.
Incredible. Are you doing any upscaling at the moment? Are you using Topaz or anything else to upscale your pieces once they're complete or during the production process at all?
I should be. So I did have a client. I want to shout out Joel Edwards with Evolve Agency in Tennessee. He actually had one of my earliest client compositions. We did like a fundraiser for sex trafficking, and we made like animations using AI. And so he actually paid for me to have Topaz, but very sad story. I don't know how to use it. I keep watching all the YouTube tutorials. I can't get it to work. And so I have it on my computer, but I can't get it to work. And also, I don't know how much length you could use into it. So a lot of people like Dave Clark, it looks like he's upscaling his videos with the clips. So those are 10 to 30 seconds. I don't know if you have to do it entirely like that or if you can upload 22 minutes. And so right now we are not, and we should be.
Maybe. We definitely had a great conversation about it the other day in AI Art Today space, and I know that Bijou, who is in here right now, uses it often. So if you want to connect with Bijou, we'd be happy to connect those dots in DMs. But she uses Topaz regularly and was saying that it really had good results for her. So maybe you two could link on that
Oh, I
after
love
this. So I'm interested to know, as I hear you talk about generating these clips and the usability of each different clip, and when you get what you want, you're really excited because that A saves you time, and then it checks off a box of a piece that you needed for your actual production. I'm
mhm.
wondering how often are you having to maybe reverse a clip of it gave you an action, but you could do better with it by reversing it, or maybe
Yeah.
you're speeding a clip up or slowing a clip down to make an action scene work more, adding action or taking away speed from the scene. Are you having to make those types of production decisions often, or are you just regenerate and hope for a slower or faster pacing?
Primarily, I am regenerating, but I think that's because of all the new updates that happen to the models. Like during the summer times, your strategy that you're saying that was almost mandatory, and that's kind of like the stage we are at in AI video right now, where people are just giving outputting what the results are versus like, hey, go into a video editor and play with the material. So that's why you see everything in slow motion. And it's like, no, y'all need to, if something comes backwards, just
Reverse it.
reverse it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
easy to fix. And then if everything's in slow motion, 2x the speed, and then you have natural
Yep.
motion again.
Yep.
And so that's what my like advice is. I wish that every AI person would just
They're
one
getting
point.
there. They're getting there.
Yeah.
This is something I love to talk about because get into this type of the conversation or this part of this nuance of the conversation. It always gets me thinking about music and the way that I've produced music for so long, and we're finally getting to a place where small pieces of video can be generated and counted on for continuity, for consistency. And that's been, I can go to Splice if anybody knows what Splice is. It's an $8 music tool that like will give you, individual sounds. So you can get a loop or something as well, but it's not $8 for endless outputs like Suno is, or whatever Udio, and it's for production as opposed to it giving you the final production. And I love that concept of anybody in the room is going to be able to make these productions, but those types of little tricks and tips of reversing a video, that comes with actual production knowledge that you're just not going to know to do it's like the obvious thing to do, but until you've produced for X amount of time, you don't know that little simple trick that will make that output meaningful or usable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, which production piece took the longest for you during Nativity, and what do you think like the space is missing right now? So, like, was it story and pre-production? It seems like from your story, the actual production part went pretty smoothly, and then the editing took the longest. Is that safe to assume, or was there some other hurdle in the production that took longer, or was more of a pain point for you?
Yeah, so I would say our biggest pain point is definitely the end. So it's going to be transferring the acting from the actors onto the avatars.
Let's talk more
And so,
about that too. Keep going. I would love to hear more about this.
okay, so right now, unless Runway advances their interface, you have two options. You have image to video and video to video. And so, if you're watching a movie, there's, I forgot what it's called, but it's like this motion blur in the background because your actor's in focus in the foreground. And so you need a little bit of motion in the background so it doesn't look like a static picture where only the lips are moving. So you need to do video to video. And so what you have to do, you have to take your image from Midjourney and then you have to animate it. And so we're pulling primarily from Minimax and Luma Labs, and we're just like, animate this, whoever is the option. And so sometimes Minimax will give you like too much motion. And so that's always a problem. But if you input static camera into your prompt when you're using Luma Labs or Minimax, it won't give you too much action. And then when you go to Runway, now that you have your video, I might use the wrong word, but you're able to impose the acting onto your character in the video from Minimax or Luma Labs. And so the only problem with that, because again, it's tedious, is that it only gives you 30 seconds. And so if you have two actors and they both have, we'll just say 2 minutes each worth of dialogue, you have to generate 10 seconds worth of B-roll video to input into Runway to get a 30-second acting output. So you have 3 stages to get the acting output. And so that's why it's a little tedious right now. And so if I was hiring, which we are, we would definitely have someone who is like an AI artist or kind of like a assistant director to do something like that. And so we would probably outsource, abroad to do that.
Incredible. So I don't think this is something most people are doing, and happy to be corrected here, but very interesting that, your position on, you think this is the next evolution of animation and CGI.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go down that path as opposed to like, this tool set is going to solve all production problems and I don't need to work with real actors? And would love to hear more about, how were you filming these actors? Was this production in person? Were you having them film their own pieces at their house and send you things? Would love to know any details on how you made that work and working with those different actors.
Oh yeah, so that was actually part of the delay, which actually is like a blessing in disguise. Runway Act
It
One.
always is. Everything is right on time. There's never, everybody here is right on time. If you're worried about something, just stop worrying about it. It's fine. It's what's supposed to happen.
Like while we were casting the actors, Runway Act One had their update of their
Amazing.
acting motion capture.
Of course. That's what God wanted.
Yeah, and it moved from image to video only to video.
Wow.
So that's how Nativity is actually able to look more real now. And so, we were able to have everyone work remote. And so they're filming from their laptops or their phones. And so we have people in like Florida, Texas, like our main actors. She's actually 16, homeschooled. Her mom's from South Africa. Really like a gem in disguise. And so we are able to pull from a global, not audience, but actor pool because of that. And number one, it minimizes the cost because, again, you don't have to ship cameras to Israel and Jerusalem and stuff like that. But also, if you have someone where, like legally, if you have like a 16-year-old that you're hiring, you have to make sure that they're not working too long and all this. You have to make sure they're protected from like predators and all this awful stuff, right? But this person gets to work with their mom and their mom gets to actually be part of the production and stuff like that. They were actually really excited with the end output. Or you can work with someone in California and like Patrick, he just got off of Disney with Ice. And so he just had a gap in his work. He was like, hey, me and my wife just got off of Disney and Ice. We can work on this production for you. And so they just had to work from their computer. And then we had Ivanka. She was from Ukraine. She lives in the United States now. She was awesome. And we had her play multiple characters. So she was able, I think she is probably in her 30s, but she was able to play an old woman and like a young woman and all this stuff. So it's really exciting. I think it's really like Pixar. And the reason that I think it's the next generation of animation and CGI versus filmmaking is that there's an energy to acting that I think you need to be live to do. And so, if I was to do Nativity again, I would definitely have a script reading room. We actually did not have that. So, some of the acting, like in my head, did not transfer over to the VO, and that's okay. But if we had all the actors together, acting together, it will help, number one, people to get the performance that I wanted, or them to get a better performance versus having the time crunch that we had. And then, there's some type of like creative energy of like, hey, let's try this,
Oh yeah.
of experimentation, where it was like, hey, if you wanted to try an accent, or if you wanted to try a joke over, or like we had like some young actors on, and it was their first time acting, and they weren't getting lines, but also I wasn't directing them. I was just like, hey, give me your output video. We're going to use it. And so I would make everyone give me 3 takes. I would say, hey, this is a take that I want. Do a second take for best practices. And then I'll tell them, do whatever you want and you can experiment. And I'll take the best of those 3. So again, because I'm optimizing for speed, it's not always conducive for creative freedom or experimentation or that lively energy that you're talking about. So that's why at Glory House Studios, we are a front runner in AI right now, but we do want to be a traditional studio where we're making films in real life.
Let's go. What comes after Moses? I know Moses was next, but if I correct me if I'm wrong again, but I remember you saying that the first few productions from Glory House were going to be faith based, but not all productions were going to be totally faith based. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Oh, for sure. So, in short, we make non-Christian Christian movies. That's the goal. So what we constitute a Christian movie is a Bible movie. So our first 2 movies, they're going to be Bible movies. So Nativity and Moses. Boom. But our goal is there's so many genres where Christianity is not even touching them at all. So you can have musicals, you have war movies, you have sci-fi, action adventure, superhero. And so that's our main goal, to go into like suspense and all that stuff. So after this, and actually, Cam, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I know you said I can say whatever I want. um, I do want to start making movies of every race and ethnicity. And so in traditional Hollywood, there's like this weird thing that's happening right now that basically they don't want any of the roles to be white. And I'm like, man, it's like reverse racism and stuff like that. I don't like it. So our first movie, I want to tell you the title. It's um, Salvation Army. So if y'all want to look this up, the Salvation Army, man, oh, there we go. Booth was made by a man named Booth. And in short, you would have these Christians that would fight for the war and they would help people and stuff like that. And so I want a story, and it's going to be a Caucasian male lead. And again, with Glory House Studios, we're also trying to make sure that our movies are, and it's going to sound weird, but are like men oriented too. There's a problem in the Christian space that all our movies are like Hallmark movies, and those are made for like moms and women. And so people don't really like being Christian because it's really effeminate and it's not that masculine. So I want a war movie to be our number 1 movie. And it's going to be a story of 2 brothers. And so it's going to be World War I or World War II. And in it, the war breaks out, and one goes into the ministry and one goes into the war. And so the major theme of this movie is fear. And so their brothers, they're going to have a parallel story where they're both facing fear in different ways. And so one brother is actually afraid, but he calls his other brother a coward because he won't go to the war. But his fear is driving him to go into the military because he's trying to prove that he's not afraid. And the second one is a pastor, and he's trying to just preach the gospel, just Jesus, and then all this weird stuff of like, the prosperity gospel and health and wealth and like snake oil salesman from like the 1920s of like, man, people don't want Jesus. They want to get rich and they want all this evil stuff. And so he's trying to keep the faith the entire time. And so again, we're trying to make movies with strong male leads. So they're both pulling motivation from their father. So their father, they're going to be like flashbacks of like them growing up as kids and how basically at the end of the movie, they're both going to appreciate one another and their father because they had to do something very difficult. And so again, picture like the action scenes of like the gunshots and all the planes are flying all over and the explosions and stuff like that. And so AI is going to be able to help us with like the CGI and stuff like that. But our goal is that we will get funding, so we will be able to make this innately. But if no one wants to fund us, we're going to do it ourselves. And so that's our production. And then after that, we have our first Caucasian lead. We want to make an African story called Man of God. There's actually like really cool stories coming out of the African diaspora right now that we want to make. And then after that, we're going to have an Asian lead and a Latino lead. Because I'm like, bro, I'm watching all these movies. You never see an Asian person as the lead or a Latino person as the lead.
Yeah.
It's only black and white people as leads. So that's like our goal. We want to go into all the spaces that aren't getting hit.
Love this. I love that you're identifying things that you feel need addressed in the space, and then you're just attacking them with passion and love and great energy. It's really awesome to see. And I totally agree. For the last, let's say 6 or 7 years, there's pretty much like not a single colored family on any show. It's like all rainbow families. Like half the kids are adopted, the wife, like, nobody looks the same. It's like that child was not produced by these two people. And like, that is where the consistency for me is like thrown out. It's like thrown out the moment the show starts of like, I need to know how this family came together. And like, then like another show, complete dichotomy is like Modern Family. And it's just, it's like all white people with a Latin mom that's mixed in there. And like, that's the difference of the genre. Like for a long time, it was mostly, white skinned family. And then there was, black skinned families, but you're very right. I loved most recently. I loved the Cheetos movie. I forget the Flamin' Hot, I think was the name of it. I thought it was fantastic. Directed by Eva Longoria. That was on Amazon. And then the other one was the astronaut movie, where the dude became he like applied to be an astronaut like 20 some times, and those were both direct, like the same energy that you're coming with now was the same energy for Latin leads, or and correct me if I'm using the wrong terminology. I'm not that diverse culturally, and I'm trying to do better. So it's very interesting that like those stories, as good as those stories were, let's say the astronaut, what's it called? It's called like a 1,000 miles or something. I forget the name of it. And then the Flamin' Hot. There's such wonderful stories. And I don't know, what the truthfulness of the actual autobiographical story versus the Hollywood cinema production, what the differences in those stories are. But it's very interesting that we had to wait so long to capture stories like that seem like they just need to be told. Like somebody who's applying to be an astronaut for 25 attempts or something, and he can only do it every 18 months or whatever it was for him, that is an inspirational story that'll touch anybody who views it. Doesn't matter, it's like there are these stories that do transcend, and I love that you're trying to approach and you're seeing this same friction in Hollywood that I'm seeing. So great to hear that you have some plans for that. And I would love to know, right now you're saying that it's more so the future of the evolution of CGI and animation. And I would love to hear what your thoughts are on like where AI tools go from here. Do you think they will eventually take over all of film as you're kind of opposed to at the moment?
Take over all of film?
Not all of, but you know what I mean? Like being able to like anybody interchangeably say, well, we can just use AI for that scene and not even worry about it.
Oh yeah. It'll definitely be able to do that. I think that unfortunately, the traditional Hollywood model is so strong with your legacy models. It's not happening. But what I do think what is coming right now, and we're seeing the first fruits of it, is your mid market levels. So, like, I don't know why people did not like this movie. I thought it was the best movie of like I think last year or 2 years ago. Godzilla minus one. You had your special effects artist being a first time director, and I think all your in short, the only reference I have for this is the Blair Witch Project. You had a team of like kids filming on a camera, and I think their total cost for the Blair Witch Project was $20,000, and the movie made $20 million. They didn't handle their contracts right, so they didn't get that $20 million. But I think a lot of mid-level movies and also mid-level agencies, when it comes to ads and commercial work, that is the future of AI. And the reason I say that traditional Hollywood is still going to be in effect is because they still handle the distribution models. And so the way that we're tackling distribution right now, everyone that is my peer that's listening, I really think that y'all should go into, I think it's called Tubi. And I think I need to look at my email. I think you can upload via film. Oh my gosh, I forgot the second part of their name. But in short, if you have something good enough and it's part of the quality, Tubi, well, not Tubi, Film, wherever their name is, they will distribute to Amazon, Hulu, Tubi for you. And so the reason that we are really bullish on Tubi is that their revenue share is 80 to 20% that you get to keep, which is really good because YouTube's model is 65, no, I'm sorry, 55, 45 that you get to keep
At the highest
55%
level. Yeah. Yeah.
at the highest level, right? And also the problem with it
And
is
Rad
that the
TV is
algorithm,
70/30, and you can pay
oh,
everyone
boom,
at the time of sale. You can
look
pay your whole
at
team at once. You don't have to do any
Rad.
accounting.
Rad TV also 70/30. And
And we're going to
so
add to that this year. So creators are going to have an opportunity to earn quite a bit more. We hope to be the number one creator earning platform this year. We're making some changes for creators. So exciting news on that front. Keep going, please.
oh yes, go Rad TV. Everyone jump on
Yeah,
board.
yes,
Uh,
please. Yeah. Go to radtv.com. Start right now for free.
because one thing people say, dance with the person you took to the ball. Rad TV was, I think, the very first distributor to get behind Nativity. And so we are a big fan of Rad. We've been telling all of our audience and all of our supporters about Rad TV. We are really big fans of them. And so people in AI space, I think you need to look at your material as the indie model. And so, you have like Cannes Film Festival and Sundance and stuff like that, but that's still traditional Hollywood. You still have gatekeepers. And so, if you know how to garner an audience, which is actually still pretty hard, and so you could do it organically versus grassroots with Rad TV and YouTube and Tubi and stuff like that. Or you can, the way that we're approaching it is we're doing film festivals, and my main platform is LinkedIn. So I'm contacting people like, hey, I made something cool. What do you think about it? And we're seeing if they would help, just like Rad TV had us as like the spotlight. So that's where I think the future of Hollywood is going. You're going to see like people from Korea with like I forgot their Oscar movie. I think it's Parasite. Like those sort of movies, they're just gonna come out of nowhere. And so you should go where you're loved. So AI film in Korea is really popular right now. So we're going to be putting all of our material country centric in our strategy.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And just so everybody knows, I would love if you can find the name of that other distribution platform. We are all for any way that creators can see success. You don't have to suppress that information here at all. We are we are hardcore creator supporters, and even if that means they're not putting their content on Rad TV, we even suggest that sometimes, depending on what a creator's goals are. And I've had calls with some people here in this space live right now that know that that's our approach is what's best for the creator, not what's always best for Rad TV. We would love to be every creator's home, but we know that sometimes the goals don't align perfectly, and we're really trying to make that alignment happen. So with that in mind, what are you looking for right now as a creator that you don't have, Winston? It seems like you got the tool set you want. You've got the ease of connectivity to work with a global production crew remotely, which is heaven sent. It's incredible. What are you missing in the space right now? What's a tool that you need, whether that's distribution or production related? What do you feel would really add to your growth and your distribution prowess? So what your vision of the future for your content. What are we missing right now?
Oh, great. And I also found the website. So it's called Film Hub. So Film Hub will
Yep.
put you on all the platforms. And so the
If
only thing,
if they think you're good enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So our pain point right now is number one, definitely hiring, because, I'm the cap right now. So we are looking for number one, everyone that is good at administration. So I need people to help streamline our actors. I need you to look through all of our video submissions that we're receiving right now. Number two is definitely I need a team of editors. I have two primary editors. I want a team of five editors that are good in movie and cinematic filmmaking. So again, that pacing and rhythm needs to be innate. Number three, I need a VFX or special effects person. Number four is an animator. And then I should have I think that's sound design. I need a sound
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
person too. I totally forgot about that. That's a really important. And I think that's it when it comes to my adjacent team. And then just like regular funding where we can get eyes and distributions to audiences. And so, like right now, we're doing all the free film contests essentially. And so if we had a budget of like, hey, you can work for a year because again, we made everything on $1,000, and Cam was like, hey, what could you do with $100,000? If we had $100,000, like, hey, you can enter and increase your marketing budget, your distribution budget. I think that's how you can find an audience. Because right now, the way that we're seeking our audience is Facebook groups. And so it's not that bad, but because I'm doing everything because we don't have the administration, I don't get to work on the next script. I don't get to work on the next storyboard and stuff like that. And so I can't be the marketing team and the production team. And then lastly, this is actually the most important prayer. We always know that, hey, you can have human efforts, but supernatural efforts is way better. So any Christian believers that are praying for us, that would be the number one thing that we want
You got
always.
it. I give you that. I will definitely help you there, and I totally believe in that as well. I have witnessed it in my personal life, and can add to that. Absolutely. I love that you ended with that. That's excellent that you have this all kind of mapped out of what's next for you and what would be the best next steps for Glory House. I think you're going to be very successful, Winston. You're really approaching this in a way that is special, and you're thinking about things in a way that most others aren't. So we've been on here for about 90 minutes. I'm going to open it
Okay.
up. I saw Liz just jumped up on stage. Welcome, Liz. Big fan of you. Been watching Liz for a couple years on X, and she's always early everywhere. Tremendous energy. We got Bijou in here. We got Demon AI. We've got Fourth Wall. Anybody wants to come up and ask Winston a question, feel free. I do have a couple others. I'm going to ask a Bijou question. Are you polite to your AI?
And also, Money Maker looks like they have a question now. So
Okay. Did you hear my question, Winston?
Oh, I am very robotic with my AI. I am
Uh-huh.
not kind to them at all. And so I just say, make me a storyboard, make me a script. It's just make me redo
Yeah,
this
tool. You treat it as a tool. Yeah.
tool.
I uh I have friends, and I know I spoke to people in the space that they are on both sides of the fence of it's a tool. I talk to it as cold and as short as possible. Do the thing, do it now. No, that's wrong. Do this right.
Yep.
And I have found I'm just experimenting here. I don't know if it's true or not, but I have definitely found that I feel like I get better results when I'm nice to
Really?
my AIs. Yeah. And like if I say please and thank you, maybe it's just me. Like maybe it's my, it's my internal energy of me being nice to something feels like the thing is being nice back to me. But definitely, I love this question too because it's so telling of like where we're headed. I have envisioned both, her, where somebody falls in love with it, and then I also envision like somebody like Office Space beating their computer with a baseball bat. Like it's gonna be both sides of that.
I don't know if you saw it. It was definitely in Asia. It might have been China where the AI robot actually stole some other robots.
No,
Yes, I was trying to figure out if it was a marketing thing where it actually did not do that. Because if you have like sentient AI, all the Terminator movies that we watch. And so I'm hoping it was just a marketing ploy. But yeah,
probably.
AI
I hope
robots,
so.
But
other.
then think of Westworld.
Right, right. Or iRobot. And that's like how it opens is Will Smith chasing that person. She's like, he's just bringing my inhaler. He's trying to save my life. And Will's like trying to shoot him.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Yeah, you got a good point, Liz. So, a couple questions on like the state of AI, and if there's no questions for Winston, then we'll be able to wrap it up here in just a minute. Um, I know that you're thinking, 90 minutes for your next Moses production, and at Rad TV, what we're seeing right now, and I'm sure a lot of other creators are seeing this as well, is so much emphasis being put on short form content,
Oh yeah.
and short form content is taking on kind of a new meaning right now because it's not really short form content. It's really long form content broken into bite sized pieces. And I've always wondered why there weren't like episodes of TV shows shown before major motion pictures to entice audiences to go watch that 5 minutes of like for like it was Friends or whatever. Season one, episode four is going to play before the summer blockbuster movie that's out for the next 2 weeks, and the only way you get to go see it is to go do that. And it seems like that's starting to happen more and more, where people are taking smaller chunks of their life to get a digestible piece of content, whether it's a minute or 2 minutes long. Where do you see the future of content going? Do you think the mix that we have today is the future, or do you feel like there's some different variety choices of short and long? Do you think we start breaking very long 90-minute pieces down to more consumable bits? What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think it is about consumption via the platform. I think that consumption habits are not changing via specific platforms. And you saw that with Instagram trying to compete with YouTube and making like long form video. Long form video never took off on Instagram because you have a specific habit on how you get on the platform. And so, like, if Elon and X try to start making movies, they're going to have a hard time. And so, I actually don't know because number one, TikTok is getting banned on Sunday, and
That's
so
crazy. Is CapCut next? Who knows?
I I am telling you right now, I'm going to be devastated.
I know that's why I said it. I'm sorry to even give you that energy.
Yeah, because I was like, dang, ByteDance owns CapCut also. I'm going to be devastated if
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yep. Yep.
so. Like when I was doing marketing and like social media marketing, the distribution was like Gen Z is on TikTok, millennials are on Instagram, and like your boomers and your Gen Z is on Facebook and stuff like that. And so I think whatever habits people engage in social media, I think it's very hard to change that. And
And you think
so,
that's tied to platform?
yeah, it's definitely tried to platform for sure.
Very interesting. Um, Are you considering where you're distributing based on those platforms? So if you start to make short content, will you be looking for a short content platform, or will you be putting it wherever Winston Mayo and Glory House has distributed previously, so that all your content's in one location?
So the way that we're doing short form is we're doing primarily trailers for our short form strategy. It may not be the best strategy. And again, I might need to hire a social media manager just to do our short form. But I forgot what company it is, but it's this company in Asia where they are taking basically 10 to 30-second reels on TikTok, and they're just pulling it from their movies essentially, and that's how they're getting their audience onto their platform. And so I think that's the type of strategy we would tackle. We would have a long form scene, and then we'll say like, hey, this is the most emotional scene, this is the most impactful scene, and then we will make it into reels that would go on X, LinkedIn, because a reel before TikTok got banned, if you made a reel, it fits on YouTube Shorts, it fits on Instagram, it fits on Twitter, it fits on everything. And so I don't want to put extra energy versus just having something that works on all platforms.
I
And
find that
again,
with Instagram is a super annoying to work with as a content creator. Go ahead.
yes. And so again, speed and time per effort is what I'm utilizing. But what you said is actually pretty interesting because YouTube is trying their best to go into film and movies. And
Yep.
so,
Yep.
I mean, television and movies. And so someone had a hot take that aligns with your strategy. And they were like, people need to go into episodic material versus like movies. And so I will say this, I have a really good script for like basically a Game of Thrones series. And I think whoever picks it up, if Rad TV picks it up or Netflix or Hulu, it's going to be a hit. And I'm not just talking. I know a lot of people like to talk. And so I have not decided of like, hey, make this once you're established or put it out into the world and see if it get picked up.
Right.
Because what I found is that people, once they see something and you're small, they'll take it from you. I'm like, man, like a perfect. And so I don't know how we're tackling episodic material. So we're primarily going into film. If we can do episodic material, maybe, but all of our scripts right now are movie only.
Very interesting. I love this conversation. It's something we talk about at RAD often. And, you know, right now we're rolling out heavy support for short form content, portrait mode, square content. We support across the board, and we have a big, maybe going out today to change our interface to support. Right now, if you're looking at content on RAD TV, it all appears to be 16:9, even though some of that content is 9:16. And you have to click all the way into it in order to experience it in 9:16. But we are working to update our ecosystem everywhere to showcase portrait mode video in a much more robust fashion than we have previously, which we're very excited about. We're not trying to call, you know, what's next, whether that's series-based short-form content or the next awesome 90-minute full feature-length film. You know, we really just want creators to have a home that they know their content's going to be shown in 4K all the time. And it feels like a lot of places, you know, YouTube is that, but then you're also sending your viewers to watch a bunch of ads, and maybe the ads you don't want on your content, or maybe the advertisers don't want their ad on your content. And there's just a whole lot of friction possible in that relationship that we're trying to remove. So, you know, it's interesting to have these conversations of long versus short, but the bottom line is like hit content wins. And that's, you know, something we see at RAD a lot is people very excited about their content, but not wanting to put in the time or effort to make hit based content. We saw that so early in the NFT space. And you brought up like Rad funding some content. And just so everybody knows, Rad has never done an original production. We do not fund content. We have sponsored creators in the past. It's usually something we do in the middle of the year. And we usually start to look at potential candidates for that around March and April. And then we sponsor people through the year. Nothing crazy, just on making sure that creators are feeling honored and they're eating. And some people that are making great content consistently, we're watching all the time and would always looking to help creators however we can. And of course, the most direct form is, hey, here's, $500 for the month, upload a couple things to Rad, keep going, great work. But we're always keeping our eyes open. So as we get closer to that time this year, I'll be a little more vocal about it in both our Discord and on X. So any creators will be able to apply to us to potentially be sponsored. Last question, and then we'll open it up. And if nothing else, then let everybody get on with their Fridays. Thank you so much to everyone who has listened. Winston, thank you so much for your time today. Again, my name is Cameron. I'm head of community at Rad TV. My last real question for you is, how do you feel about AI and copyright? I know that you brought it up initially for music earlier, and you were worried about having a copyright strike on your accounts for music-related copyright. How do you feel about all the lawsuits that are going on right now with AI, both music and video? And what do you think the outcome of this is?
So I'm very counter. So this is going to sound weird. I don't think people have ownership of anything.
Yes.
Shortly. Like,
Agreed.
really, right?
I agree, totally.
So,
especially if you release it on the internet. Who do you think you are that you can release something on the internet and it's still yours? Like it's gone. It's everybody's now.
So a lot of people, they want to copyright ideas. And I've even found that I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most original idea. And then I told no one, and it came out of nowhere as someone made the idea. And so that's how I view AI. AI is a bunch of numbers of ones and zeros, and they're pulling from all material, curating it, and choosing what is the best output and result. And so that's the same way that a human picks a song, picks a movie, or whatever. And so the way that I'm curating is like, okay,
so you're saying the AI has taste here is what you're telling me.
A little bit. And so it's like, okay, I was born in the 90s, but I'm from Los Angeles, but I lived in the South. But then I traveled to Kenya and Nigeria. Like, I'm pulling that experience of like, hey, I really like Frank Sinatra, but I like studying Spanish. And so I'm picking and choosing, and then I'm putting out the best output and result. And so a lot of people, they don't like that, hey, you're pulling from, I'm just going to name directors, Steven Spielberg and Christopher Nolan, and then now Midjourney can make something that looks like their material. But a computer is just doing what we do naturally. And so I have a hard time thinking that copyright can be regulated in the way that everybody wants. And then number two, and this is going to be very selfish, all the Chinese models that do not care about copyright, they're putting out the best tools right now.
Not even close.
And so if they, besides, I don't have access yet, VO2 is the number one image video model, text to video model out right now, but everyone doesn't have access to it. And so again, even with them, are they actually abiding the copyright if they're using all of YouTube's videos for their outputs? And so everyone's like, hey, we want to use like I think Adobe is the most copy, like they're abiding by the law, but they're having the worst outputs.
Sure.
So how are you going to, like, I don't know. It's kind of like conflicting for me because I like abiding by the law. I don't like breaking the law, but all these Chinese models are using basically the world's material, and they're giving you exactly what
copyright. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
We'll run anything through here. We don't give a shit about your copyright. Give us this awesome AI tool, and they're winning that war. I mean, I love that you think that. So are you like, not even considering it in production unless you think it will directly affect you at the moment? Is that kind of how you're looking at it?
Yeah, primarily because we're not using any like main actors. You know, like people want to use like Tom Cruise and
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger
I
and
think
stuff like that.
I forget who made the Batman piece that was so amazing a couple weeks ago, but like you're not going to use Robert Pattinson or whatever, not get taken down.
Yeah, so I think like AI is like really good for like social media content and memeable content and stuff like that. But again, we want to be a traditional like movie production house, so we're not going to be using like big names because I think that um, I think that cuts out some of the work. It's like, hey, traditional Hollywood, you will hire some famous person, and this will help your movie succeed. Sometimes, if you make something strong enough and it's just good, it goes viral. And I know this is not a good example, but like,
Right.
I
Like
think,
Blair Witch.
yeah, Blair Witch or like Bird Box. But
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
their marketing was actually really good. They paid a
Yeah.
lot
Bird
of.
Box marketing was good. Yeah.
It was really good. But I do think best stuff comes to the forefront sometimes. But sometimes
Sometimes, yeah, but I like to think, and I'm okay being wrong. I like to think that the conscious collective of Earth has pretty decent taste. You know, it's not very often that I hear a song that blows me away that I had never heard before. It's like you're very rarely being introduced to something that's existed for like 30 years. You're like, I've never heard this is incredible. Where did this band come from? Like everybody of all time has had the opportunity to comb through things and see what is good and what isn't. And I think we do a decent job, but it's undeniable that some people's content since for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, and then they become like a household name. And you're like, wait a second, how did nobody discover X creator until 20 years after? Like how, like were we all asleep? Did the consciousness just change? Our collective evolved to like a new sound, like we would like a new taste or whatever it was?
oh yeah, and if you want two really good examples of this, number one, Hey Ya from Outkast, that song was a flop. They had to put millions of dollars to get this thing played.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm a big Outkast fan. I did not know that. Is
Yeah, I
this
thought you
Atlanta
would.
lore?
Oh no, this is like marketing lore. You know, like in my
Okay.
spare time, I'm listening to like entrepreneur podcasts and stuff like that. Hey Ya was a flop,
Wow.
and so they had to pay just DJs to just keep on playing it. And so, like, if y'all ever do like traditional marketing for people to at least remember who you are in a company or as a creator, you need 7 touches. And then for people to buy your product, you need 30 touches.
Wow.
And yes, right. And so that's what they did with Hey Ya. We are going to put money, you are going to like this. And so
I love
that's
it. I love Hey Ya. I mean, we literally when I right before the show, I went upstairs and my queen is playing Kids Bop, and it's like some kids version of Hey Ya, and I'm like, this is fire. Like I love that song. And just if somebody said this is not a hit at the time when Speaker Box and was it My Love Below, I think was the double album, when that came out, I thought the whole thing was incredible. Like every song was amazing. So if somebody said like Hey Ya's not a hit, I don't. Makes me question Earth's taste if that's where we are.
but the problem is, even you saying right now, that means the marketing worked. Like
Right.
like it
Right.
really worked.
Ads do work. That's something. Michael Finney, who's a prominent member of our community, he's awesome. Got a channel on Rad. He is a great marketer and a great brain for these types of things. But he always says something he says all the time that sticks with me is like ads do work, and he means it in both ways. Like ads are literally doing work for you in the world that it's like a person you're paying to hold a sign. And then on the other way, they actually do work. Advertising does lead to sales. And it's not very often you think about it that it does lead to sales. But like, I don't ever buy, this just popped into my mind yesterday. I don't eat at McDonald's. I don't eat Wendy's regularly. I don't eat fast food regularly ever. If I'm going to eat a burger or something, it's like a smash burger or something that's, a little higher. I'm going to pay $20 for my burger or whatever. I just don't eat fast food that often. But I saw a commercial yesterday for McDonald's rolling out Pokemon Happy Meals with they have a new toy in them. They got some cards, and I have a 15-month-old son, And I'm like
Yep.
collecting little things like that for him. And I'm like, oh, well, if I wouldn't have saw this ad, I wouldn't be at McDonald's next Tuesday to get 4 Happy Meals that are Pokemon for my son to have as like collector's edition when he gets older. And like that ad literally sold probably to me, to my wife, and to my mother-in-law. That probably sold 10 Happy Meals. And like I'm not even a customer. It just like happened to catch my eye, and now I'm gonna be, just like I bought the Krabby Patties from Wendy's this summer. Like I'm a SpongeBob fan. You gonna give me some '90s stuff? I'm gonna buy it. It's just I'm a sucker, I guess.
And then the second one, and I know we're trying to end, but
No rush at all. We're in no rush. You got it.
Oh yeah, is the difference between the entrepreneur and the artist. And I think a lot of filmmakers and AI people are going to have a hard time with that, especially with the platform. Sure. Because if you want a really good history lesson on this, the second highest selling book after the Bible was a book called The Pilgrim's Progress. It was written in the 1800s by John Bunyan. And so for 400 years, this was the first viral book. And so this is where you get The Lord of the Rings. This is where you get Narnia. Everyone read John Bunyan, essentially. But again, this book didn't take off until he was dead. And wow. So that's what you see with like Da Vinci, Leonardo, Michelangelo, like all these artists, right? Like during their time, they would make this amazing art. And then boom, they'll always be broke. And so if y'all want like the story behind the 16th chapel, I forgot which one it is, but whoever made that, he was Catholic, but he kind of like hated Catholicism and stuff like that. But he was broke, right? And he was like, hey, the Pope was like, hey, paint the 16th chapel, so we'll pay you. And Michelangelo, and you won't be broke, right? This is his premier art, like in his whole life, right? And so that's the hard thing of like, hey, do you want to be an artist who makes what you want, right? So that's your Christopher Nolan's, that's your Steven Spielberg's, your Quentin Tarantino's, or do you want to make art that people like? And I'm going to say this, I'm a Michael Bay fan, and people don't like Michael Bay. And he's like, I'm going to make what the audience wants. And then you have blockbusters. And so people don't know how to navigate that. And I think a YouTube strategy that they had was like a 3-to-1 ratio. You make 3 things that your audience wants and 1 thing that you want. And then hopefully you won't be a starving artist. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a viable company over here.
I love that. And, something to plug Rad TV a little bit with viable companies. We know that not all creators are as business savvy as somebody who is a business person. And that's kind of a door we've opened up at Rad, is the ability to have what we consider a semi-MCN, multi-content network, to where somebody who is doing business or wants to do marketing can curate works from different creators, put them on Rad TV, and that they can be paid out at the same time. So if that curator is taking their 10% for a marketing fee, but they're uploading it, they're adding all your metadata, they're promoting it for you, they're getting sales for you, you can just keep creating. And that's possible on Rad right now. You can come in and add up to 100 wallets on any piece of content. Of course, you can monetize for free as well, and you can start monetizing without any cost as a creator. You don't have to have a subscription. You can go to radtv.com right now, click the create button, have a channel, upload videos in less than 5 minutes. It is super easy, and you can start monetizing today with no ads. We're also, very interested in the past works of people that are like not given the light that they should have. If you have something that you've had on another platform for a couple years, that's an awesome piece of content, please reach out to us. Send us a DM with your content. That's how Winston and I got connected, was on a previous space. I was saying, look, we can't review all content that comes into Rad TV. Like there's hundreds of videos being uploaded right now, and we are reviewing for certain things. We are reviewing for infringing content. We are infringing for X-rated content that doesn't belong on the platform. But most of the content is able to be uploaded, and we're not sitting there watching it and making a decision of like, should we be featuring this piece of content? Is this one of the best pieces on Rad? We need creators that are making that good content to reach out to us and say, hey, I have this piece coming. Can you check this out? Where are you willing to feature it? You can upload to Rad and make something that's not public. Send us a link. Our back end can check it out, our content team. And that's what Winston reached out and was like, hey, I'd love to have my content featured. How do I go about doing that? And very quick, hey, send us a couple links to your work. Well, here's my work. Our team reviews it. And 5 minutes in, we're all like, wow, this is incredible. Next thing you know, it's on our featured carousel across all of our apps. And then Winston's getting eyeballs every time somebody comes to radtv.com on a piece of content that he spent months creating that is very well produced. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We need you to do that. And we're actually working on a submission form for creators to submit content in a much easier way so that it can be reviewed, and then you actually get a response of when it will be reviewed, where it will be reviewed, and what steps Rad TV is taking, if any, to promote that content. So just one other thing that we're adding there. What was, you said it was the other best-selling book, and when you said that, a thing popped into my mind is what we were talking about. It's called Hitmakers. Anybody who's into audiobooks, Hitmakers is a fantastic book to listen to while you're at the gym on a treadmill or something. It has some of the best, most well-known products in the world and tells how they came to be. And like the guy who designed the Coke bottle shape, he also was the person who made the decision to put a window in the space shuttle that went to the moon. And he was tasked with designing some aspects of the ship. And he was like, why is there no window? Like, we're going all the way into space, and that window is responsible for the pale blue dot photo that everybody knows. And we wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for the guy that made the Coke bottle making a decision of like, how are you not putting a viewing window into the space shuttle that you're taking into space? Like, guys, it's the whole reason we're going. And of course, now we all know that photo exists. But definitely check that book out. There's a really cool thing in there about a guy that's an A&R from a record company. He goes to a friend's house, and a kid is playing the B side of a really popular record that's on the A side. So he's playing the other side of that record. And he asked the kid, he's like, why do you like that song? Like, the other song is the hit. And the kid was like, no way. This is the best song I've ever heard. And I forget the name of the song, but like, this is a good sales pitch for the book of like, the name of this song everybody knows. I forget the name of it right now. But like, when you hear that like some 8-year-old kid was the one spinning it, and then the AR rep hears and he's like, that 8-year-old kid loves it, but we don't think it's a hit. And then he just decides, we're going to play it more. We're going to hey-ya this to everybody. Oh, yeah. And then boom, now it's a huge hit, and it's like a song everybody knows. And this is like in the 40s or 50s. But really interesting stories about like the way providence and prominence in art come to pass. And another little excerpt from that book that I'll share is that there's a guy who curated a bunch of his friends' paintings at the same time that he was curating some of the biggest artists' paintings in the world for some large museums. And as he was doing it, he just started adding his friends' works into these curations. And some people would be like, oh, we'd love to showcase this one. And it was an unknown artist that was his friend. And this guy ended up dying. And when he died, they found all these curated works, and he's responsible for like 8 of the 10 most popular painters that we all know of. And it's because he was just, and they were his friends. He was just curating their work. And then when he died, there was nobody to say. Those were his friends that he was curating. He was just curating things that he liked from his friends. But then when he died, there's nobody there to like tell that story of, oh, this is just nepotism happening. No, it was just a guy that had paintings. Now nobody's here to say why they're not popular. Now it's just like, this super popular curator had these pieces that must make them good. That means they were at the level of taste that this person required to showcase them. And it's very interesting. So I encourage everyone, if you're a creator, definitely listen to the Hitmakers. It's a really good book. Like I said, treadmill or something, audiobook, and Audible's running a free trial right now. You can go get a couple audio books for free if you haven't seen that running. Winston, incredible space today. I love so much connecting with you. The call we had previously and this space today are fantastic. And like always, I view this as, the first couple blocks being placed in our relationship. And it's really wonderful to be connected with you and a creator that's tackling things that you're so passionate about and tackling things that you think are issues. I really love to hear that, as opposed to just doing what you think is going to be the biggest payday for you or the lowest hanging fruit. You're really going after something that's close to your heart and trying to deliver a solution to a problem you're seeing in the market. And I can't commend you enough for that. And your personality, as outgoing as you are and as good of a speaker as you are and as good as your content is, there's no way you're not going to continue to find success in your productions with Glory House. So keep on that path, King. Thank you for your time today. Tell us, where can people check out your work? How can they follow you? What do you got coming up next? Whatever you want to plug.
Oh, great. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Cam and Rad TV. So primarily, the two names are Winston Mayo on everything. You can find me no matter the platform. I am primarily on LinkedIn. And then number two, Glory House Studios on everything. You're going to find us everywhere under that name. And then I made sure to make posts for everyone that came on so that you can receive value. All the tools that we have is on LinkedIn and X. And also, I'm doing consultations. So if you need help with your script or your production, I can make sure to give you all the tools, all the best tips, and not gatekeep anything so you can get the best results. And so that is the highest post. And yeah, I think our movie for Moses will be out in December or June. I know that's a really big gap, but I'm trying to just do the math of if 3 months takes 22 minutes, can I get my production down to a month? I really think I can. And so we'll do that through hiring. And so all emails we'll receive are through gloryhousestudios@gmail.com. So that's everything.
Glory House Studios. And if you go to radtv.com right now, you can find the nativity in our featured carousel banner, and it's on the AI video tab page. It's incredible. If you're doing production, if you're just looking for a piece of content to watch, two great reasons just to go check it out. The lip sync is incredible. And the scenes at the end that show how it was recorded and filmed really got me super interested to talk to Winston, because I think he's approaching his productions in kind of a hybrid way. It's traditional paired with this new cutting edge technology. And it's really interesting to see how he's doing it. And I think a lot of creators can take cues from what you said here today. So excited to get this up everywhere and start to share, what it takes. I think the tips you shared on inputting your storyboard and then having those scenes built out and then dumping that in to get music that's paired with BPM and key is so amazing. That's the workflow you're doing. So excited to learn more, Winston. As soon as you get ready to have Moses release, we would love to have you back on here. Of course, please keep us posted on that production. Send us if you need to send us a clip. We'd love to align with you on marketing and promo. So don't keep us in the dark on that. We would love if and when the time comes to also talk about monetization, if that's something you're interested in. So don't hesitate to reach out. Again, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. Winston, your time is very appreciated. We're grateful to have you on Rad TV and to be connected with such an awesome creator in the space. Your energy matches everybody else here that we've connected with. It's really AI community is the best space on the internet, hands down, in my opinion. It is an incredible community to be a part of. Follow Winston, everyone. Follow Bijou, follow Demon, follow Liz, follow Abel, follow Afro, follow Abo, follow Fourth Wall, follow Altered, go to radtv.com, check out Winston's awesome work there. I'll post a link at the top of our profile on X right now. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. Winston, thank you.
Thank you.
Talk soon, everybody. Have a great Friday.